Hello guys, hello family, hello friends. This is Dr. T and welcome to Clinical Medicine with Dr. T. So guys, in this video we're going to be discussing thyroid hormone synthesis. Thyroid hormone synthesis. So we are going to talk about the role of these hormones in the body, their functions, how they affect the body, different organs of the body, and that's going to help us to understand how you get the symptoms of hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism. So the thyroid gland is part of an axis. The axis is called the HPT axis. This axis is concerned with producing and regulating the release of thyroid hormones. So the H there is the hypothalamus. The P is the pituitary. And the T there is thyroid. So the HPT axis is made up of the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the thyroid gland. So these three, they control the production and the release of thyroid hormones, which is T3 and T4, right? Okay, so if we were to draw our hypothalamus there, let's say it's on there, looks like this. Then this would be our pituitary, and then this would be our I'm not good with drawing, guys, eh? So this is our hypothalamus, our adenocytes, our thyroid gland. So the hypothalamus, when there is a reduction in serum T3 and T4, which are thyroid hormones, or when there's a reduction of iodine in the body, so when there's a reduction of these, the hypothalamus will sense it and it will respond. When you've got this reduction in T3, so this T3 and T4, or as a reduction in iodine in the body, the hypothalamus will sense that and it will secrete TRH. So it will secrete TRH, which is thyrotropin releasing hormone. TRH in short. So that thyrotropin releasing hormone will be sent to the anterior pituitary. If this is our posterior, then this is our anterior pituitary gland. So the adenocytes or the pituitary is got two lobes, the anterior lobe and the posterior lobe. So this would be our posterior lobe, this would be our anterior lobe. So that thyrotropin releasing hormone will come to the anterior adenocytes and stimulate cells there, a certain group of cells called thyroid trophs. So those thyroid trophs will release, upon their stimulation, they will release a hormone called TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone is going to go to the thyroid gland and stimulate the production and the secretion of these two hormones, T3 and T4, right? T3 and T4. So when you have a situation whereby you've got a reduction of these, we've just explained that that's what will cause the release of the TRH, subsequently the release of TSH, and the release of T3 and T4. If T3 and T4 is released so much that it gets to the normal level or high in the serum, the hypothalamus again is going to get messages that we've got a lot of T3 and T4 now, and the hypothalamus will respond by inhibiting, will stop releasing TRH. When TRH has been inhibited, when its release has been inhibited, then also the anterior pituitary will be inhibited from secreting TSH. And TSH, because TSH will be inhibited, so the release of T3 and T4 will also be inhibited in an attempt to drop the serum levels of T3, T4, because we don't want a state of hyperthyroidism, meaning too much T3 and T4, or we don't want a state of hypothyroidism, which is a condition where there is low levels of T3, T4. So when that happens, when there's an increasing levels of T3, T4, message will be sent to the hypothalamus to inhibit this pathway. Once you inhibit this pathway, then you will correct your T3, T4. This is what is called a negative feedback mechanism. A negative feedback mechanism. You get to a state where you've got low T3, T4, hypothalamus picks it up, it releases TRH, TRH causes the release of TSH, and then TSH causes the release of T3, T4. Once this gets to the other side, it becomes high again, a negative feedback mechanism will be stimulated, the hypothalamus will again be inhibited. That's what is called a negative feedback mechanism. So, if I can just come back to the anterior pituitary or the adenocytes as a whole, one thing that we need to remember here, guys, is that the adenocytes, like I said, it has got the anterior lobe, or it's called the anterior pituitary, and then the posterior lobe, which is called the posterior pituitary, right? While we are still here, I think it's important to mention that the posterior pituitary it secretes about two hormones, the posterior, ADH, which we now know, or another name for it is called vasopressin, vasopressin. And then another hormone that the posterior pituitary secretes is oxytocin. ADH is concerned with water balance in the body, then oxytocin is concerned with, milk production and uterine contraction when in pregnant women and all of that. So the anterior pituitary secretes about 6 hormones. So the first hormone we've spoken about it's TSH. The second one is ACTH. Another one is prolactin. Prolactin. Another one is a growth hormone. We also have the 2 gonadotropes, which is LH and FSH. So what is important to note here is that the anterior pituitary secretes about 6 hormones, while the posterior is only 2. So which means the adenoviruses secretes about 8 hormones in total. What is important to note is that as much as the anterior pituitary secretes about 6 hormones, but all of those hormones are secreted from different cells, right? The cells that secrete TSH as a result of being